Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. That is me. It's not me. That's my show. I'm on the show. My name's Sir Patrick Mack, and I'm on the show In Pursuit of Truth. So it's me indirectly. Me and John. John and me. Yeah. Some knuckleheads were spying on Sarah Carter and John Solomon, and they got busted.
Yeah, I got you. I got this on camera.
Yikes. That's unexpected. Let's pick up where we left off at 33:73, 16 minutes after the hour of 8. Surveillance of Sarah Carter and John Solomon terminated. Sleep well. Q. Well, it looks like our team over there, and I guess they're not really Fox. John Solomon's from the Hill. Sarah Carter's kind of independent, but we always see them on Fox. We know that they have been basically the front line for the information war. Obviously, a lot of us are digging things up, but they're the ones that really bring it to mainstream. They usually announce it on Hannity somewhere. That's usually where all the breaking stuff kind of comes from. And a while back, Q had let us know that really essentially they were under some protection, and it looks like during that state they were being surveilled. Likely, we'll find out in a little bit, really, but it's essentially through a whistleblower program, and those are usually the people that are getting to Sarah Carter and John Solomon. So as they break the big stories, they're the ones that have had to be kind of under that protection. And it looks like in the process of exchanging information, there were people doing some surveillance stuff. Well, that's no more. And Q says you can sleep well. Let's move on to the next post. We're going to talk about that some more here. 33:74, 19 minutes after the hour of 8. Responding to an Anon who says Hannity just dropped the pen again, using a very artificial tone. Follow the pen. Quote, Hannity was talking directly to us. And of course, we know that that is usually in reference to upcoming EOs. Q will mention that. Follow the pen. I'm actually watching Sean Hannity right now. I'm about a few minutes in, but I haven't really gotten to check up on it. My whole computer shut down today, so I've had a whole bunch of problems. So I'm catching up on Sean Hannity. But it looks like this Anon is saying follow the pen was something that Hannity dropped. And Hannity has dropped a lot of Q clues, and Q is kind of confirming this here, saying, haven't you figured it out by now? Well, if you haven't, I would just say this. Hannity knows what's up. Sarah Carter knows what's up. John Solomon knows what's up. And that's why we've had to kind of stay with them, because they're the ones that have really been breaking it. And it's really been those three. Obviously, Dougie Collins has been dropping a lot of the different documents and things online, sharing things on Twitter. But it's really been these guys busting everything out. Particularly John Solomon's been uncovering a lot of really great stuff. But Hannity has been dropping a ton of clues, talking about the storm, and it looks like we're talking about the pen. So I would imagine an EO must be coming up. Let's move on to the next post. 33:75, 22 minutes after the hour of 8. Anon says, how the heck were they allowed to do it this long? Holy smokes. FBI, CIA. Q says disguised under the leaker target program. So there you go. Obviously there are all these different kinds of programs. We had a similar thing back in the day with Edward Snowden too, where there are these sort of programs that you can go to essentially turn in your information, right? Well, it looks like that is how they were surveilling that. And of course, the NSA, I'm sure, caught on to that very, very quickly, but that is no Mo. Now we start to get into some really interesting stuff here in the next post. 33:76, 23 minutes after the hour of 8. Looks like an Anon's put a graphic together entitled Placeholder 1, and they're reacting to this earlier post where Q had said Flynn news coming, saying holy that word, and then we got a little gif right here. I love this one. She's like, what? I can't believe it's not butter. Then we get this right here. This is a March 6th post. Is the stage set for a drop of HRC. Then we got these pluses, a space, a plus, and 5 more pluses. Raw vid 5.5. We see this 5.5 again. Could this be 5 minutes and 5 seconds? Don't really know. And then we have this EX-RVid 5774. Looks to me like this would be a file name for some sort of video, or at least part of it. And it might have been, this was back, like I said, March 2018. Q might have been calling this out just to kind of let people know, the bad actors, if you will, that we have it all reread regarding stage. And we're talking about setting the stage for HRC. And we were wondering back last year if that would be the time. And it turns out, of course, that it wasn't. Hopefully, it might be different this year. We shall see. The nail in many coffins, liberal undo. So when Q says liberal undo, I have a feeling that this has something to do with a really, really hardcore liberal sort of social talking point, if you will, whether it's, the border issue or whatever. But I really think it has to do something with Planned Parenthood. Sadly, I think it has something to do with children. And I think many of you do too. That's why Q says it's impossible to defend, toxic to those connected. Yeah, I suppose if there's video of something that's really, really toxic, then there's just no going back from that. It doesn't matter what your politics are. And I suppose if it has to do with something like that, or something, I don't even want to mention it, but you can imagine with Planned Parenthood what it could do with, right? That would be extremely damning to that whole talking point. We must work together. We are only strong as your voice. You must organize and be heard. This is why we keep you divided. This is why they keep you divided and in the dark, weak. We are here to unite and provide truth. Dark to light, evil surrounds us. We are fighting for you. Where we go one, we go all. The choice to know will be yours. And then we get this right here from George M. Nassif. George says, round 2, look for these arrests coming included the NXIVM cases related to Epstein cases. Stormy Daniels, her attorney, Weiner, Huma, Hillary, evidence from insurance files on Weiner's laptop, 3 videos, watch the dominoes fall, recruiting teen girls for NXIVM. Yeah, and I would like to add too, remember, Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, and he had a little something to do with another case, if you remember. That was one case of R. Kelly. And we'll talk more about that in a future video, but I just want to memorize you that. Soon to be entered into evidence. Can't legally show them here. Video 1, underage teen boy giving blood transfusion directly to HRC. White coat doctor present. Operating room setting procedure. So you can kind of see, even if this guy's remotely correct, how this would mean what it means, right? Video 2, Huma, HRC sex with underage girl, bedroom setting. Video 3, HRC, Huma and surgeon cutting off female child's face and nose with scalpel. Approximately 8 years old, H&H talking, being Hillary and Huma, taking said child's face and placing it on their own. Ugh, yikes, dancing around the room as if celebrating. Okay, well, this is awful, and I most certainly don't want to cast any aspersions on George Nassif, but we don't know this to be true. This is what George is telling us to be true. Now, it might be. We don't know. Like I said, this has nothing to do with George. He could be absolutely correct. I wouldn't be surprised if he's far off, but we don't really know, right? And I want to point out, too, that Q is not necessarily confirming this exactly. This Anon says, wow, they best leave our patriots Sarah and Sol alone, being Solomon Fox. Former FBI official indictment of Jeffrey Epstein is placeholder. Expect dozens more charges in near future. And we know Q's been talking about placeholders. This Anon tends to think that it had to do with Flynn. And again, this is from the Anon, not Q. I'm just wanting to make that distinction there. Now, Q says placeholder population start August 2019. So I don't think that Q is necessarily confirming this, meaning that these placeholders will be the beginning of the D class. And we've talked about this before. If you just go here on Q map and type in placeholder, it'll take you to the placeholders and you can see what they all kind of fit. But it looks like that's going to drop around August. So I'm not so sure that that has anything to do with Flynn. And I don't know that necessarily Q is confirming this, but if this is true, it most certainly is something horrible. So let's move away from it because it's yucky. 3377, 25 minutes out to the hour of 8. Q Plus drops in, says, we are with you, Q Plus. So everybody stand up, salute.
Go, Biggie, John.
You know what? We'll practice that. We'll practice that next time. 3378, 28 minutes after the hour of 8. Q Plus responds to an Anon who says, for God and country. Q Plus says, for humanity. Yeah, and that's us, because you're human, and so am I, which makes us humanity. 3379, 59 minutes after the hour of 8. We get taken back to August 15th. This is a part of a picture from Gloria Vanderbilt and her lovely children. This had said below hand. They were turning us on to this trinket right here, I believe, which has a little rabbit head. And if you're not familiar with that, I think most of you are. This looks to be another one of their creepy pedophile symbols. There's been a lot of that artwork and the Podesta artwork that we've seen. And of course, we've seen a lot of different stars talking about rabbits and putting that in their artwork and whatnot. And if you want to know more about that, you can check out my video entitled, Who Are the White Rabbits? Yes, Q says, do you find it interesting that everything discussed in the past is somehow making news as of late? Yeah, interesting stuff. We're talking about Epstein, and of course, he's getting popped, and who knows who's going to be next to go down. But Gloria Vanderbilt just recently passed away. And the picture that we were looking at, we don't have the exact one from this close-up, but it was part of this photo set right here. Wow. I don't know anybody who uses that. It looks like a picnic table on the wall. I don't know. That's terrible wallpaper. Anyway, that's Gloria Vanderbilt. She's looking at her boy like she's going to eat him. She's like, I'm going to go for that neck right there. And this boy's like, oh, no, you don't, old woman. I'm going to jump out the window. And that was probably a tasteless joke because that's what happened. Anyway, this right here is Anderson Cooper. And Anderson Cooper's a little creepy himself. He was just recently interviewing Jean E. Carroll. And she looked like she wanted to eat him, kind of like she wants to eat him. Yeah, it was really, really creepy. She is the one who accused Trump of rape. She also recently accused Les Moonves of rape. And I did this on a Twitter thread the other day. I highly suggest that we keep our eyes on the Les Moonves situation. I still think it's rather important. But you can see what's up. This is all kinds of satanic-y stuff going on right here. I don't know. When I was this age, I probably had Patrick Ewing on my wall. But they've got the Dark Overlord with the burning casket, because that'll help you sleep at night. You got the floating head right there. Is that a spoon? This is dumb. Anyway, I know that there's really some significance right here. This is some sort of dark underlord, and I forget her name. We actually covered it back in the day, but this is definitely some satanic stuff. This is some sort of like female deity kind of thing, satanic deity thing. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but anyway, Gloria Vanderbilt and her creepy stuff. And this kid committed suicide. And of course, we all know what happened to CNN's Anderson Cooper, who's also a little bit of a creep himself, but obviously brought up with some very, very creepy folks. And I would imagine that we're going to find out more about probably what happened with this power family and their creepy pool inside their house that had bloodstains on it. Just saying. I should also add that Gloria Vanderbilt was going to not leave much money to Anderson Cooper. It was going to be about $1.5 million, something like that. Anyway, she canked on that. It was about $200 million. So Anderson's going to be just fine. Let's move on to 3381, 42 minutes after the hour of 9. Q says, example, Joe Biden, Vice President of the United States. Follow the family. Corruption in D.C. How to get rich. Are liberals willfully blind or... And then we have this link here to the Washington Examiner. This is an article from 2012. $1.5 billion contract in Iraq for Biden's little brother exposes Obama ahead of debate. All right, it's not shocking. We knew this already. Mitt Romney has criticized President Obama for giving green energy subsidies to campaign donors, but a new report out ahead of the debate tonight shows that this White House's crony capitalism has a foreign policy angle. Hillstone International won a coveted government contract in part because the company has the little brother of the vice president as a partner, as David Richter, president of Hillstone's parent company, explained to investors in a recent meeting reported on by Fox Business Today. Since November 2010, James Biden has been the executive vice president of Hill International's housing subsidiary, despite little, if any, documented work history. Yeah, kind of like how his son worked in the Ukraine and doesn't speak the language, but still managed to be the manager in residential construction. Fox explains, and if the company's projections are accurate, both Hill and Biden are on the verge of a huge payday. Beneficiaries, some analysts believe, of James Biden's connections to the Obama administration through his older brother. Okay, so this is long going on like this, and like Q was saying, this is a good example And I think what Romney says here is perfect. Romney has already proven himself willing to go after Obama for crony capitalism, as he did during the first debate. The place you put your money makes a pretty clear indication of where your heart is. Indeed, it does. Romney said $90 billion. But the kicker was really this, and I think this is true with a lot of these green companies. And these businesses, many of them have gone out of business. I think about half of them, of the ones that have been invested in, have gone out of business. A number of them happen to be owned by people who were contributors to your campaigns. So I wonder where that money ends up going. The housing contract in Iraq is expected to generate $1.5 billion for James Biden's Hillstone, according to Fox. So the report could pave the way for an awkward moment for the president in tonight's debate on foreign policy. Okay, well, I think we all know where this money goes now, right? It goes into funding all sorts of other kinds of things. Now, these green companies are very much like these humanitarian groups. They're slush funds, essentially just putting money into one thing. And, even a rich guy like Epstein still needs money to build those tunnels on those islands, still has to build all that stuff. And, of course, that money has to come from somewhere, right? And this is how it all gets done. And in this case, it was all through green companies. And this happens with tech also. And then these companies go out of business, and that money kind of never gets accounted for anymore. Anyway, that's an example. The other link here is to the New York Post. The troubling reason why Biden is so soft on China. Why is Joe Biden so warm towards China? This is from, 2019, so just last month. Last week, Biden raised eyebrows when he shrugged off concerns over the China threat. Come on, man, Biden said. I mean, they're not bad folks. Like how we said folks twice, but guess what? They're not competition for us. All right, well, we learned differently through Huawei's action, right? Perhaps Biden's insouciant attitude towards the Chinese government has to do with the fact that his family does not consider them competitors, but business partners. In 2013, then Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden flew aboard Air Force Two to China on our dime. Less than 2 weeks later, Hunter Biden's firm inked a $1 billion private equity deal with a subsidiary of the Chinese Government Bank of China. The deal was later expanded to $1.5 billion. In short, the Chinese government funded a business that it co-owned along with the son of a sitting vice president. All right, well, there you go. And that's pretty much the classic example, right? And, I have some interesting word on Biden. And, from one of my sources said that this guy really wasn't really trying to get into the presidential race, but it looks like he's a little bit locked into this, but I don't really think he wants to be there because he knows this is going to come out. This is all pretty easy stuff to find out. Biden's brother, $1.5 billion contract in Iraq. Biden's son, $1.5 billion deal with China. Same thing with the Clintons and her brother, whatnot, out there in Haiti back in the day. Coincidence? Drain the swamp. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we are bleeding money through these cats right here, through these funds and stuff like that. And all this stuff needs to get audited, and it looks like this stuff is coming out. But I think Biden will probably be the first to fall of all the presidential candidates, just considering the weight of his own ineptitude. Let's move on to 3382. 57 minutes after the hour of 9. My turn. I love that smile right there. Q says, sweet dreams, Q. Post 3383, 36 minutes after the hour of 10. This was a post from back in January of 2018. U.S. taxpayers are paying for it all. Paris Accord equals scam, trillions. Red Cross, scam, billions. Foreign aid, scam, trillions. War, scam, trillions, on and on. Who audits where the money actually goes? Well, that's a good question. I think for years, nobody was really doing that. Who actually receives the money? Well, it depends on who wants it at the time. The U.S. taxpayer is funding the very people we are engaged in taking down. Precisely. Slush funds everywhere. Think GS pays for Antifa. George Soros pays for Antifa out of his own pocket. No, he's got plenty of funders on his own. And all his little PACs and all his little humanitarian groups take in billions of our dollars. The hole is deep. Feels sick yet? Now we get a Twitter link right here to Sarah Carter. And she says, where's our money? In 2015, Barack Obama and Joe Biden gave Equatorial Guinea $4.4 million in U.S. What? U.S. aid. So let's check this out right here real quick. Obama gave $4.4 million to Equatorial Guinea in 2015. Where did the aid go? Well, it looked like he went to these supercars right here. And I just want to point out, just my opinion, But if you have money for cars like this, like that's a cool color, that's a cool car. But I never understand when you pay so much money for these cars and then you get like an orange one, like one of these, just bright orange or lime green. I'm just saying, to each his own, I'm just saying. Anyway, what is interesting is that while the son of president was purchasing expensive cars in Switzerland, the Obama administration gave Equatorial Guinea $4.4 million in aid in 2015. Here's the chart of that donation. Well, that's a lot of cannoli right there, isn't it? According to a report from the World Bank's Stolen Assets and Recovery Initiative, the cars were ultimately surrendered to settle the corruption case. In November 2016, Swiss authorities seized 11 luxury cars as part of criminal proceedings opened against Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mange, the son of Equatorial Guinea's long-time leader. And one of these days, I'll tell the story of how I got offered a job there. True story. On suspicions of money laundering. The prosecutor's office said in an emailed statement to Reuters, the Geneva public prosecutor confirms the opening of criminal proceedings against Teodoro Obiang. The latter is accused of money laundering. As part of the procedure, 11 vehicles were effectively sequestered in the cargo area of Geneva Airport on behalf of the prosecution. Okay, well, somebody needs to alert Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that somebody's spending all that dark money. All that dark money she keeps talking about. It's going to Bugattis and to McLarens. Yikes. All right. So Sarah says, in 2016, Swiss government seized 25 supercars. Okay, It's basically the same thing that we read there. Now, that is a sweet car, though. I will say that, but not worth that much. Imagine what would happen if by law every U.S. congressman, woman, U.S. senator, president, etc. was by U.S. law audited every 1 to 2 years by an independent agency. Wow, that wouldn't be good for Nancy Pelosi, would it? Imagine what would happen if those audits extend to all family members of such elected officials. Well, that would be even worse. Would Democrats continue to push for foreign aid to other countries versus the homeland? No, because then the money would actually go there. What happens when the kickbacks dry up? Well, then I guess they got to sell the McLarens. Maxine Waters' $4 million house. Nancy Pelosi's net worth $150 million plus. Good Lord. Joe Biden's son, brother, net worth tens of millions. Clinton family, $200 million plus. Pre-election of Bill Clinton, less than $1 million. That's quite a growth rate. Obama family, $40 million. Pre-election, less than $1 million. Disguised under book deals, indeed. And then we've got this here. And I keep thinking that this is Q implying that they have evidence of this. Or he's used it too before in reference to you are watching a movie. You can let me know what you think this is specifically. But that's what I always think when I see it. Those who take are offered more powerful positions within the party. Yes, controlled, because the more they take, the more they owe, right? The more they take, the more they're indebted. And that's where it starts to get even crazier. And that's where a lot of these law firms start to get involved and essentially start controlling them, whether it is through some sort of insurance file kind of video, whether they catch them doing something damning. And then, hold them to that. That's kind of how they buy the loyalty. It isn't usually just with the money, because the money, somebody can usually just go to jail over that for a few years. It's usually something much, much worse. Q says, drain the swamp, indeed. And finally, we go to 3384, 50 minutes after the hour of 10. Tom Steyer is not sleeping well these days. Quote, attack a political opponent will not work. Justice is no longer blind to those with billions. And we all know Tom Steyer has billions. He is the head of Common Sense Media and known Trump hater. He was actually raising money to impeach Trump around last year. And now he has tossed his hat in the ring to run for president along with all those other people. All of them that I don't know. Anyway, here's something else about Tom Steyer. Now, there are some communications between Tom Steyer and John Podesta, and they're mostly talking about emissions and things like that. Outwardly, they were having a little bit of spat, but it looks like inwardly, and this is according to the WikiLeaks emails here, his brother Tom is into the walnut sauce. And if you're new to this, walnut sauce is another one of those pedophile terms and rather disturbing. Now, this is CC'd to Tom Steyer. It's actually from Jim Steyer to Podesta, but obviously Tom Steyer is included in this, so this must have been a super important conversation. We know you're a true master of cuisine, and we have appreciated that for years. Of course, Podesta has a lot of people over for dinner, but walnut sauce for the pasta? Mary, please tell us the straight story. Was the sauce actually very tasty? Who says that? Who even says that? You all know that's creepy. Anyway, that's the story. So I find it very interesting that now everything that's going down with Nexium and everything going down, which is probably about to go down with Epstein. And, it wouldn't surprise me if this Ray Chandler was a lot like Allison Mack, and the fact that she probably ends up singing. If she ends up singing, who knows who's going to come down. But the timing comes out now. Tom Steyer wants to run for POTUS. And we know that Q has alluded to the fact that a lot of people who are going to be challenging for that position are likely guilty of something. That way, if something comes at them, they can basically claim that this was some sort of, political, some sort of warfare, right? And I think we all know what's up with Tom Steyer. He made some millions off this Common Sense Media. He's got a lot of eerie connections too, especially with Amazon. But it appears that him and his brother like to go over to Podesta, and they're real curious about the walnut sauce. Yep. Those are your Q posts for now, Patriots. I would have loved to have dig much deeper on all these posts, but given the sheer volume and everything going on with my editing software, that is all I got for you. But I want to throw one more thing out that we kind of cruised over. We were talking a lot about these Epstein logs, and I have a feeling people will be talking about these for a while. And I'm sure a lot more interesting things are going to pop up about them. But I want to rememberize you of a story. If you guys remember, a few weeks back, we had this crash, this helicopter crash at the offices of Sidley Austin in New York City. And the pilot who died was flying this, it was a private helicopter, and he was contracted out to an Italian man named Daniel Bodini. And I was able to find that he was actually married to by a bishop. He seems to be very well connected in the Catholic Church. But I would also like to point out that Daniel Bodini also seems to appear on those Epstein logs. How about that? So there you go. Much more to come, I'm sure, and I have a feeling that Q is far from done. But if I get a break, I am going to try and save this all and get back to the weathermen. Otherwise, I'll see you the next time Q pops up. This is Sir Patrick Mack. All my links are down below in the video description. My Gab, my BitChute, my Real.video, my Twitter, which is right here at IPOT 1776. My email's down there, my P.O. box down below, and if you want to support my channel, my Patreon link is down below too. All those links are down below. Thanks to everybody who likes and watches and clicks and shares. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're new here, welcome to you. Every once in a while, we have cake. Yep, that's a true story. You can ask around and people will confirm. Yep, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky.